Okay, it's 6 o'clock. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes. I move that we approve the October 8th, 2024 agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda. Superintendent's report, Mr. Jesse.
Thank you, Board President Wheelander, other board directors, student representatives, staff, and community members out there, and I'm sure some folks online. I don't have a ton to report this evening. We have 3 presentations, so we're going to hear a lot about the Shelton School District and what's specifically going on in our 2 of our high schools, and then also with English language learners and multilingual learners. So I am out in schools on Thursdays. So I was at our 3 elementaries last Thursday. It just happens to be my rotation. Great visits. I get out in the classrooms. I'm able to see what's going on. Most of my visit was centered around 1st and 2nd grade at all of the schools, just the way the schedules work for getting out there. Really cool things such as working on stamina. So we want students to be able to read for a sustained period of time. This is a really key thing for our students to not just say, oh, you're reading for so many minutes or pages, but it's also about building schema. When we get lost in books, there's a lot of research that supports students making more connections between a variety of topics and content. And so we really try to instill that early on. Obviously, we have classroom libraries at all of our classrooms for at the elementaries, so in our ELA classes across the district. So kids have just right books. And then there was a lot of word work. We've done a lot of work around things like high frequency words, letter sounds, syllables, and then vocabulary. So we work on those skills. Kids are playing a lot of games during their day in the 1st and 2nd grade, and they were having a lot of fun. Teachers have been working together around what we call an integrated system where support staff come inside the classroom while the classroom teacher is teaching. Sometimes they rotate their positions, so some will lead a small group, some will do whole group, and then those groups usually rotate out. It keeps it a lot more interesting. If anybody, for our parents or guardians out there, when you have your 1st or 2nd grader, their attention spans are limited sometimes. And so we want to keep them engaged as much as possible. And these games and the rotations moving through really do help us as we teach some of the foundational skills. For the adults that are out there, remember working through a lot of worksheets for long periods of time and really some boring activities. So we really do try to make it not just engaging, but it's also to sustain our students' attention on the key skills that are required to be moving away from novice readers to fluent readers, obviously entering into our key grade level, which is 3rd grade. If you're a reader at 3rd grade, really your trajectory, your access and opportunities at graduation, high school graduation, are a lot more profound and a lot more accessible. So we want to make sure that we do that for our students as much as possible so that they are at or exceeding grade level standard by 3rd grade. Again, in these 1st and 2nd grade classrooms, I saw a lot of engagement. Our teachers were doing outstanding jobs leading instruction with our students, pulling them in, hearing their voice. Is just really exciting opportunities for our students. And so I'd just like to share those moments for sure and keep highlighting them. Really, just with that, I'll make one other quick notice. We, again, back to investing. Last year was our first year doing freshman seminar as part of our academy model. Actually, all 3 high schools do some version of the freshman academy. And it's really just about readiness for high school. We heard that when we developed our strategic plan. Students said, hey, transitioning from 8th to 9th grade is really difficult. It's like, yes, it is. That's a big leap. And we designed a class to support our students in that, all those skills that are required, whether that's navigating, hey, what is a career? How do you plan for that? What are some of the things I would need to do if I wanted to go to a vocational school afterwards, or the military? But also social skills, also self-management. Those are some of the other skills that we know we want to teach the whole child. So we designed actually a whole, our own curriculum. So we have our own book that we have put together with the help of our own Shelton staff. I wanted to give a special recognition to Wendy Burr on that. But it's something we can have access here across our 3 schools so that it's well-designed and covers the content that we know is really critical, again, for our students to be successful through their high school experiences and beyond. So that's, I just wanted to recognize that because the work continues. I know we talk about when we kick off events like the Freshman Academy, but it's about continuing to what I call layering. It's continued to do that improvement about building in better experiences for our student. It doesn't just mean getting a book in a kid's hand or that we design a class just for them. It means keep improving it so that it's better to meet their needs and grow our students. So that's what we're up to here in the Shelton School District, and I'm looking forward to hearing our presentations tonight from both Choice and Cedar High School. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, next we'll do community comment, and because I forgot my glasses, Ms. Gilmore is going to read the statement.
As part of the regular school board meeting, the board welcomes community members to make public comments in person and/or by phone as conditions allow. If speaking in person, please follow the public comment procedure by signing in and stating your name at the podium when called by the board chair. If making comments by phone, please dial 1-253-215-8782 and enter meeting ID number 810-6874-9921. Each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board will direct the superintendent to follow up on any items that arise during public comment as appropriate. The board requests all speakers to use civil and appropriate comments and refrain from disrupting the business of the board. We ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. Persons with disabilities requiring special accommodations to participate may contact the superintendent's office to make arrangements.
It's a mouthful, isn't it? Okay, first up, Brandy Romero.
Children, as well as a couple grandchildren who will be in the school district, and a very big part of this community. I was on the safety board for the high school for a couple years. I am a part of the association for the school district that raises tens of thousands of dollars for children in this district. We care about the children. Angels and Cherubs donate quite a bit of money, and obviously, our association really cares about the children, aside from the issues I'm having with my children in this district. I had sat in the meeting last night, and I had a lot of useful information that I'm glad I sat in on that last night. I wasn't aware that it was open mic till today. And the reason I had originally came is because I have brought up to the superintendent assistant, as well as requested for 3 years to meet directly with the superintendent regarding a school bus driver who has harassed multiple children, including mine. We have a no bullying tolerance in this district. We have to lead by example, which is one of the things that you just mentioned before being able to speak. A couple things you guys had mentioned last night. And with a no bullying tolerance, it is very unacceptable for a bus driver who is on camera, and I have multiple pulled camera footage for public disclosures on these incidences to admit to bullying children and then laughing about it. Specifically to my high schooler, which she had ruined his 10th, 11th, and 12th grade years, especially 12th grade. Not only did he graduate from this school district, but he graduated 6 months early. He is going to be a part of our police force here. Despite her pulling over the bus and stating last year around the same time, the day after Halloween to be specific, to not be like my son's name, which I won't mention. He had a few of his friends on the bus with him because we had Halloween events. Our office puts on a lot of the Halloween events around here as well. And she pulled over the bus and down the road from our drive and stated that. Walk to the back of the bus. Do not be like example whatever. I don't like him anyways. Children asked why they stopped. She said that she laughed and she's bullying the children. This is one of multiple incidences. I know I only have 3 minutes, so I will stop there. Last night at the meeting, it took 1 hour and 27 minutes to acknowledge that you guys are here for the children. We are here for the children. You guys are paid by our tax dollars. And I've been stonewalled multiple times. You guys say there's a ladder. I heard it last night. There's a process. I've went through it for 3 years. I've done everything that I can do, and I understand she's a part of a union. So is multiple bus drivers. I also understand we need bus drivers. I advocate to please apply to be a bus driver. However, it is not okay to bully children.
Ma'am, you're over time.
This year we had an incident just a few weeks ago with my second grader that I confirmed did not happen. Again, you had mentioned last night at the meeting that you would be willing to give up your salary. I want to say that that was very noble because I think you were genuine in saying that. The superintendent.
Ma'am, you're over time. I know you have a lot to say, but 3 minutes.
3 minutes is up? Okay. Well, we have a no bullying tolerance, and we need to start leading by example, regardless of what your position is in this town. Also, CNN 10 is being played at our schools. That does not help their educational process at all to play a news network of any source, let alone CNN 10 during homeroom. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jessica Brissett.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jessica, and I'm a community member here.
Can you pull the mic closer to your mouth?
Is that better?
Way better.
Awesome. So recently I was at a football game over at the high school, and after the game was over, it was an 8th grade game, so it's nighttime, it's a little dark. After the game is over, we're walking back to the vehicle, and there's a gap. There is a 14-inch gap from the fence line that is 1.5 inches lower than the remaining of and I have pictures. I have a photo of it I can show you all. The reason why that's an issue is she was walking, busted her whole knee open. It was a child that did this. Now, I can't imagine my Grammy pants coming over here and walking along and roll their ankle. Her whole knee was bleeding. Her ankle was rolled. It was bad. It's not painted differently. It looks like it is the same level as the rest of the sidewalk. It is not. It is a safety hazard. I wanted to bring attention to that so that nobody's grandma, or anybody else for that matter, trips, falls, and is bleeding. It's a pretty big, 14 inches, I measured it.
So are you talking about like the curb sidewalk kind of joint thing, or show me the picture after?
Okay, so like when you're walking to go into the game, and you're walking from the high school parking lot, then the fence line, you're walking into the game. From the fence line, There is a 14-inch gap. It's all one sidewalk. There's no paint difference. It's asphalt as well as sidewalk. But there's a difference in height, and it's a pretty significant difference with no type of marking. It's not painted. It doesn't say, hey, this might hurt if you fall, if you're not paying attention, if it's dark, if it's raining, any of the above. If the conditions aren't nearly perfect, you're gonna roll. It's not gonna feel good. She messed up her pinky, she messed up her knee, and her elbow. This is it was a pretty gruesome fall. So if we could, I just have an idea, paint it yellow. So I don't know. I'm even willing to go out there and paint it. I just don't want anybody else to get injured. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online? Okay. Moving on to item number 5, reports and recognitions. 5.01, introduction of the 2024-25 student school board representative for Choice High School. Mr. Jesse.
Great, thank you. I've stressed many times over, student representatives are a really important part for this district and for the school board as an opportunity to empower our students in their voice. Again, that's one of the central themes to our strategic plan. And we've had such wonderful student representatives over the years, taking to know them and their story, strength, and needs. And it's just, we get another extension. So I'm really excited to not only obviously joining Abigail and Alan, but now we have Kaylee Allen, who is coming to us from Choice. Kaylee has been attending Choice now for 3 years. She's in her 3rd year. And one of the really cool stories about Kaylee is that even though she's in the 11th grade cohort, she is scheduled to graduate this year from Choice. So we know we got a super hard worker over there in Kaylee, and really nice to have her join us. So kudos to Kaylee. I know her principal's over there too, so he's really happy to have her. And so we get to get a chance to get updates about what's going on in Choice in addition to what's going on at Cedar, because we hear from Alan and Abigail from SHS. So welcome, Kaylee, and glad to have you. And yeah, we get to have fun with you this year and just kind of finding out again what's going on at Choice and your input on how we can make the school district better. So thank you.
All right, thank you, and welcome, and moving on. 5.02, the report from the student board representatives. Abigail from Shelton High School, you're up.
Unfortunately, after my report, I do have to leave, but last week was homecoming week with Spirit Week Monday through Friday, class comps were Wednesday, homecoming game Friday, and a dance on Saturday. All of these big events had very good turnout. Football won the homecoming game and had alumni crown the homecoming court. Key Club is having their first meeting, hoping to put it together and plan out Thanksgiving baskets in partnership with the Kiwanis. Staff noticed kids bonding over the HOCO game as more than usual. Leadership presented our annual homecoming assembly Friday. It was supposed to be an hour-and-a-half assembly, but due to the weather, we had to move it inside the mini dome, and that changed it to 2 45-minute assemblies in the mini dome. And we're starting to prepare for SATs and PSATs.
Okay, thank you. And Alan from Cedar.
Hello. Yeah, so I just wanted to say, at Cedar, so far we had our first assembly last Thursday, and I would say it went very well. The students seemed really engaged. They seemed to absolutely love the games that we had planned for them. I was actually involved in planning for the assembly, so, I might be biased, but I'd say it went pretty well. We had a lot of students attend homecoming. We also had a lot of students from our school that were also involved in band. We also have, we're going to be hosting the ASVAB test next week, as well as in our advisory classes. We're starting our HOPE projects. We also have more student involvement in the MTSS support system. We've also already had our first working Wednesdays, which went very well. And during these working Wednesdays, we had very individualized support for each student to make sure that they do the best that they can.
Not to put you on the hot seat, but what's Working Wednesday?
Working Wednesday is basically kind of like a catch-up day where students who are not doing so well with their grades can come into school and have the entire school day be focused around them catching up with their work, with help from our counselor Susie and our helper Beth. Yeah, and they get very individualized support. So if a certain student is struggling with like only just one problem, they can be helped with that one specific problem instead of having to try to figure it out on their own or during class time.
Awesome. Not what I envisioned. Okay, great. And last up is Kaylee from Choice.
Last Friday, we had our awards assembly. We celebrated the students who reached their academic goals. And then right now, we're also in the middle of our ASB officer elections, which I think a lot of students are pretty engaged in. I heard a lot of chat about it. And then next Friday, we'll have our reward celebration for the students who met their academic goals and behavior goals. And we'll go to a movie with that is offered snacks by the school and treats and whatnot. And then on Thursday, October 24th, we'll be having an open house for parents to come and see the classrooms and celebrate the students' goals. And there will be a baked potato bar I think a lot of people like.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the great reports. Appreciate it as always. Okay, moving on to item 5.03, the Choice School Improvement Plan. Mr. Bruni.
That's not me. That's Cedar. There we go. Thank you. I'm Mr. Bruni, principal of Choice, and first slide is just a picture of our new science program, and you can see all the kids, and Ms. Tillman in the middle is our new science teacher, CT Science, and they're taking all the kids to the Teresa Johnson Memorial Trail to clean it up. It was an old Choice project that happened years ago, and now we're revitalizing. School improvement goal number 1, we're planning to have 80% of our 9th grade students finish the year with 6 credits or more. Our strategies, our Tier 1 strategies, is that we're going to authentically engage students by greeting them at the door and pointing them towards an entry task that's relevant to the lesson. Already, we've taught the students the structures and routines for their classes, and this is something that we pride ourselves on at Choice, is knowing each student's story, strength, and needs, and now we're taking a step further and trying to use that knowledge to kind of help create individual and needs-based instruction as well. So we're trying to do a good job there. Teachers will also engage students for the first 5 or 10 minutes with an entry task, and that's something that our teachers get really good at, and it's something that we started out last year with kind of a social-emotional entry task, and now this year it's becoming more academic, so they're tying their entry task to the lesson. We also have, for all the kids, all of our universal systems, we have an entry evaluation or orientation that allows kids to connect not only with their teacher, but also with me. I attend all those as well, so I can meet the kids that are coming into our school. Also, advisory is something that we take seriously, and it's also very connected to the alternative learning experience. And So we use monthly check-ins with their advisors, and it's sort of like having conferences every month, and they conference with the families and check in with the students to make sure that they're making progress. And if they're not making progress, they develop individualized supports and interventions to make sure that they reach their goals. School culture is a big one too, we're trying to get better at, and we have always had great rewards and awards assemblies and stuff, but now we're taking it a step further and trying to make a more robust PBIS system, and trying to catch kids in the act of doing things the right way, and trying to catch kids who are going above and beyond and who are showing that they're following our community agreements. We're learning about mini observations in our admin meetings together with Superintendent Jesse, and so we're really trying to tie my mini observations with all the stuff that we're doing in our school improvement plan to make sure that we're having good conversations, and that I'm coaching the teachers along to make sure that we're doing the stuff that is research-based and that will provide outcomes for our kids. And you can see our classroom instruction, we're increasing student engagement all the time, and all of our staff, regardless of what they teach, are in the process of learning the workshop model and doing mini lessons and kind of tying back to all the stuff that we're learning in our literacy labs as well. Just a couple pictures of, this is a freshman class here. Over here you've got, that's actually Kaylee's class there in their English class, and you can see the books are all around the classroom, and they've got, they're doing independent reading there, and the books are coming kind of a staple of our school day, and I think they're enjoying it, and it's going really well. School improvement goal number 2, this one's tied to disciplinary exclusions, and we're going to reduce them from 14 to 9. And when I came to Choice just 3 years ago, it was in the 30s and 40s, so we're getting much better each year. The way we do that is that we're using restorative justice practices, and there's lots of restorative practices that were happening and are traditional in the history of Choice, but I'm trying to work with staff to go a little step further, and we're using our MTSS team and strategies to try to have this kind of a systematic approach to how we deal with some of the behavior issues. And like I talked about before, the PBIS, we've developed a program, and now we're really trying to make it more robust and make sure that we're having more students recognized for doing the positive and the right things. And then we've added mental health counseling services. Now we've got True North in a partnership there, so we've got a full-time mental health counselor as well as a substance use disorder counselor. So we've got them right on campus with us, and they're actually involved in our MTSS meetings with us. So they're helping us to identify students and try to implement different strategies and to help them so that we can support them. And then we're constantly looking at data with the whole team to figure out who's in need and how we can support them, and whether or not the supports that we're using are working. Also engaged in some other systems that help support kids, and I've showed this to you before, but our positive messaging campaign and our PBS signage. We've got students who had actually helped us to paint the bathrooms at our school to have positive messaging in the bathrooms. We have positive messaging above every classroom door. We've got positive messaging all the way down, up and down the hallways. We've got our consistent message of our community agreements, our 4 community agreements, and our school motto of respect yourself and the rights of others. And I think that's pretty impressive, and I think that we've got a lot of students that were involved in it, and we talk about there too the certificates for strong attendance and for accomplishing our academic goals and behavioral goals. Canvas and Fuel Ed is just a way that we make sure that students are able to access their stuff when they're not at school. We have some students that are on half days or different schedules, but we also have a working Wednesday, if you will, where the students are working asynchronously at home, and That's what we use to make sure that they can access their work. And talk a little bit about the master schedule and MTSS team. Really, that's the biggest and I think most impactful change that we made is that have a really systematic approach to MTSS and how we're identifying kids and we're supporting them and using all of our support staff to help with that. Here we have, you can see our positive messaging campaign right there. Throw kindness around like confetti. No act of kindness over small is ever wasted. So you see it all over the school and all over the hallways and in the bathrooms. And then that's an example of one of our awards assemblies. And that's another one of Ms. Tillman's science classes. Thank you very much. Have any questions?
Any questions from you? I can tell you I always like all of the positive messaging and everything when I'm in the building. It looks good on top of just being a friendly place to be. So,
great.
Good job down there.
Thank you. Oh.
Well, that's a lot of different layers that you have to manage. So I think it's a great job. What I didn't hear is attendance and truancy. Did I miss something?
I'm sorry, at the what?
How's your attendance and truancy?
Oh, attendance is great. The last report that came out said that our kids are attending 86% of the time.
Okay, thank you. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
I had a question around that too, just because I know Choice caters to different supports and needs of the students. So not every student goes every single day. There are customized plans for students. Is that correct?
Yep.
And how many students are at Choice now?
Count came out today. We were budgeted this year for 121 students in the day program.
Okay.
And today we counted 141.25.
Okay.
And the 0.25 is because we share a lot of students with Newmarket and Running Start and SHS, so you have to factor in the fractions. But yeah, we're at 141 in the day program, and we have 72 in our Open Doors re-engagement program.
Oh, okay.
So we've grown quite a bit.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy to hear, I like the fact that we have the True North counseling and other supports that have been put in place there. I'm happy to hear how that's doing. And I've enjoyed seeing the different social media posts on, painting the bathrooms and just having students help make it a more engaging and enjoyable environment. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.04 will be the Cedar High School Improvement Plan with Amber Hosford.
Hello. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. I know it's really hard to hear back there, so I don't know if it's the echo or what, but I will do my best teacher voice as well. So, President Willander and members of the board, thank you for allowing me to come here and talk about my school, my favorite thing to do. So here is our school improvement plan. So our first goal is by the end of the 24-25 school year, the number of ninth grade students who earn 6 or more credits will meet or exceed 90%. One thing that's really hard with our percentage is we have such a small number, so one student makes a big difference. So, but I definitely think that we're on the right track for that goal. Some of our strategies that we have right now is that teachers will actively immerse students through our school-wide systems and structures. A lot of those things are coming from the ELA systems and structures through the district, as well as our partnership with New Tech Network. So we take a lot of those, we've done a crosswalk and blended them together and see what similarities and differences that make us unique. So they all do entry tasks, community circles, we do student recognition in order to build that school culture. All of our ninth grade students are enrolled in what we call Cedar Success Class. It is like the freshman seminar at Shelton High School that assists students with collaboration and agency is one of our big, strong components of our school. All ninth graders were invited to our orientation in August. We do orientation a little bit different, so we take one day that is planned by our student ambassadors that's only for new students. Typically, most are ninth graders, but any new student who's coming to Cedar, our student ambassadors, Alan is one of them, and they actually plan the entire day for the students. The next day, we do it for our entire school, and so then our ambassadors get to be part of it, and that's planned for by the staff as well. And then any student who's joining mid-year this year is going to go through work with our Cedar ambassadors to learn more about our Cedar culture and our HOPE program and what that really means to be a student at Cedar High School. So some of the systems and structures that we have in place, teachers facilitate conferences with families. We do that once a month on average, where they go over our grades, attendance, short-term, long-term goals. We talk about things to do with our HOPE program. So part of HOPE, if you're not familiar with it, has to do with gratitude. It has to do with short and long-term goals. It has to do with contribution to your community. So every month, students fill out a form that they use as a model and template to go over at conferences with their families. Sorry, I've got so many little things, so I don't want to forget stuff. We also have our biweekly MTSS meetings. So we have our Tier 1 team meeting. We split it up this year. So Tier 1, we have students on the board, and so they come to our meeting. So we really focus on what the systems and structures are in the building and what needs to be done at a Tier 1 level. And then our Tier 2, Tier 3 meeting is where we're able to talk about individualized students. And it is amazing having student voice on the team. That was a component that was lacking in our TFI, our Tiered Fidelity Inventory last year, and we added it, and it's been amazing. All staff maintain daily grades in ECHO, and as well as their learning objectives, their agendas, so if students are absent, they can check and monitor their work. They work on NTN common rubrics, so we have all of those common rubrics as well. And then they use learner-centered practices across all courses, including our interdisciplinary literacy tasks in all of the classes. Oh, do I have a clicker? All right, so here's just some photos. On the upper left, you'll see all of our ambassadors actually made personalized phone calls to all of the class, all of the incoming students to personally invite them to our orientation, and we had all but 3 students come to our orientation, which is a great turnout, and they'd all reached back out and told us they were on vacation or some other reason. You can see there's one of the activities that our ambassadors led during the 9th grade orientation. We implemented a new cell phone policy this year. Last year we did a survey between students, families, and community members and came up with our school policy. And basically we decided that it wasn't a one-size-fits-all, that you can't just cut off cold turkey for all students. And so we have a policy if students need it, because we understand that it's a tool, and so they can have a sticky note that says what the purpose of that they're doing it. So it really promotes that agency, so students have to go, okay, here, I have to go get the sticky note. We're not doing it for them. And that it is a tool because it's not going away. And then we do some hands-on activities that support our inclusion to help with some of our multilingual students as well. And then we do some community building, and this is an example of freshmen in a Cedar Success class. Our second goal is that our school exclusions will reduce from 10 to 9. And these are our exclusionary referrals that we have. So some of the strategies that we have really implement or embed our MTSS model. So a lot of our Tier 1 services and supports. So we are celebrating students, like Alan mentioned, we had our first assembly. We were able to come over here and use the old Mountain View gym, which it's a little bit of a walk. It held off on the rain for us, so that was great. But we were able to come over here, and our kids did amazing. We did our attendance awards, and this September we had 87.3% attendance, which is pretty good for, again, percentage-wise for our student population. So we had an amazing attendance, and we were giving off attendance awards, and I'm pretty sure it was almost every student who stood up and got an award for their attendance. So that was pretty phenomenal. We also, We also do our career and college readiness through grade level seminars. So because we restructured our advisory classes a little bit and how we're using that, our counselor and advisors, but our counselor pulls out students by grade level and goes through grade level specific seminars on what the next step is in that career and college readiness. And that's in addition to our 9th grade Cedar Success class that we do. In our advisory program, we use our New Tech Network practice, and we also prepare for high school and beyond plan presentations in the spring in every advisory. So students have to present what they're doing from the time, hopefully, they started in 7th grade and then moving forward. Our other strategies are students will practice the skills in collaboration through the use of the student-generated group development cards. So we have a whole process that we use in order to do conflict resolution, group development. Every time we do a project, they talk about, they do a team contract. So they come up with how are we going to respond to this, how are we going to do that. We do forming, norming, storming, performing process, and with that, the students learn how to go through that. We have a step-by-step tool that the students use when you're in that storming, because we know that happens in every place that you go. You form it and then you storm. And so how to do that conflict management, and so that really helps, I think, is part of the plan with our exclusionary referrals. And then we implement our HOPE practices, again, supporting the well-being of students. Our systems and structures, so our discipline data is entered into Swiss, and we do already, with our meetings, looked at our Swiss data. Right now, our referrals are really low, so that's hopeful for this year. We've got a great group of kids that are in, that have come in and still here. Students are implementing the components of HOPE, so we do a lot about short-term and long-term goals. And it's really, if you aren't familiar with that, and I know I've tried to explain it, it's kind of hard to understand sometimes, but HOPE is a verb, is our phrase, and it comes from a book called Hope Rising. And it's really that you can grow hope. It's not something, it's not like a wish, but it's strategies and pathways that you can use in order to develop those skills and what you can do and move forward. And then celebrating students through the use of Cedar celebration cards, acknowledging their positive behaviors that reflect the Cedar culture agreements of collaboration, engagement, diversity, agency, and respect. And so this right here in the upper left-hand corner is a logo that was designed by a student that says hope is a verb. And we actually have patches that we're going to get out to kids in some way or another for demonstrating hope. These are our Cedar celebrations that teachers and we also have them for staff celebrations, so students can give them to staff and we give them to students, and then we do drawings. This is the forming, storming, norming, performing group development cards. We also started a partnership this year with WSU 4-H and working up at Panhandle Lake with experiential leadership. And so we do full value contracts, so we started that with our teams. Components of hope, you can just see an anchor chart that we used when teaching that. Our students this year did Senior Sunrise. It's not typical that we've done that. They're like, hey, we want to do that. So we all got there early in the morning, cooked them all breakfast, and they went up on the hill and watched the sunrise. And then we've done some staff development as well in order to help support the staff in implementing all of these things. I'm a firm believer in not just telling you here, this is our SIP and this is what we're doing, but we're going to help train you on it. And so we did, you can see at the bottom, we're on, I forget what that balance thing is called. And Susie's probably dying. There we go, whale watch. And we did an activity up at Panhandle Lake where we had to do some experiential leadership where we're hoping to be able to take our students out there and do some of these activities as well. And then this is another staff development with our coach from WSU 4-H. So that is Cedar High School. What questions can I answer for you?
Any questions?
Oh, I forgot a whole slide. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
Look at this. This is what happens when you put me in front of my thing. Okay, college visits. We also have college visits. We're partnering with Shelton High School in the fact that we want to make sure that it's easy for the colleges. So when they come to Shelton High School, Susie works really closely with their facilitator. I don't know who it is now. It used to be Jill. Thank you. And so they come here and do some college visits with us. We also have, you see Alan, he's doing some public speaking at community events. This is just some of our kids. We've got our ELA curriculum and doing our, this is anchor charts. This is a really cool picture from our assembly that we just had. Students made buttons. This was student leadership on Orange Shirt Day, and they made buttons and passed them out to everybody. So there, now I'm actually really done. Oh, I'm just kidding. This is the best part. I'm so sorry, Wyatt is just like, oh my gosh. This is our growth goal data, and I really, really am excited to share this. Hopefully you saw it in our board packet. If you look at our growth goals for ELA, this was last year's student growth goals. So 2023, we were at 22.7%, and in 2024, we were at 70%. And then if you looked at our math, we went from 4.5 to 25%. So, and even if you look back, we have still raised over the past 3 years. So I'm super proud of our students and our teachers for everything that they're doing. Now I'm really done.
You sure?
I promise this time.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Those are encouraging numbers. I wonder what attendance or your enrollment is at Cedar. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, right now we have 103 was my last count. We also have about 8 students who are doing Running Start. We have some students shared with Shelton High School and a few students doing Newmarket.
Wow, great job, a lot to juggle. Sounds like you're have a lot of creative solutions, very exciting things going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have always loved since Cedar started that it's a whole different experience for kids. I really appreciate hearing how you have incorporated student voice, and especially having students on the board for that. Was it the MTSS
meeting?
Yeah, so I think that that's a wonderful perspective to have. I would like us, I know we've talked about that quite a bit, just to have more student voice. We love having our student representatives on the board, but I love hearing how that's utilized at your school, and it makes me wonder if that's something that other schools are utilizing too, by having that student voice right there. Really appreciate seeing the scores here. That's always really nice to see. That's a big jump with your ELA scores, and really encouraging math scores as well too. So thank you very much for the report. It's always nice to see the pictures of the kids and all of the different things that are going on. I also love just your community involvement that the students have. Cedar's always done a really great job of having a lot of community involvement.
Thank you.
I get the opportunity once or so a year to go and speak at your school, and your students are always very engaged. It's a comfortable campus. They're obviously led and prepared very well, so it's just always fun to be there, and it's good to see the successes that you're finding also. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 5.05, the services for English learners for 2024-25. Kat Kelly.
Good evening, Board President Wiehlander, Board Directors, student representatives. Thank you all for giving me time to present to you about our multilingual services for English learners for the 24-25 school year. I always go the wrong way. Okay. This evening we will review our state transitional bilingual instructional programming, including demographics, some program model updates, staffing and professional learning, and then I did have some graduate voices to come to bring the student voice to the table. They did have prior engagements, but I will still give you a little overview of what they're doing now, where they're at. Across Shelton School District, our students continue to diversify, and especially in the languages represented in the home across the district. And of course, also within the multilingual program of students who qualify for services. We have primarily Spanish represented in our multilingual services, as well as MUM Canjobal. English means that's a bilingual household, and then along the bottom, some smaller populations. This year, we've qualified so far over 1,100 students across the school district. But not all students who qualify for multilingual services are the same. So we have students who might be newcomers, students born in Shelton, students born in the US. Our foreign exchange students often qualify for services. Students with limited formal education often are in our multilingual program. And then students who are also dual identified. So they might be multilingual and on an IEP, multilingual and highly capable. And just to get down to that student level, this is a profile, changed the name, of one of our newest students I wanted to highlight. His family came 6 years ago, and he was back in Guatemala with grandma up until this past summer when he got to join his family. While he was in Guatemala, education was such a priority for him that he worked to pay for tuition to go to a higher quality school, knowing he would join us here in Shelton with his family. He's now in our newcomer program doing some English language development, as well as leveraging that background and those assets he had from his work experience in Guatemala in our MET program with our CTE staff. So I'm very excited to watch where this student goes. I'm going to go visit him tomorrow. For the whole, across the program and across these 1,000 students, we can look at students who are currently qualifying for multilingual services on the left, and then students who have qualified and have now exited. And it's generally trending upwards. This is measured by SBA in terms of meeting standard for ELA. And so as a whole, the moves we're making are aiding students, and there's still more work to do. That's part of what I want to cover tonight. When we look at multiple metrics outside of SBA, things like MAP or DIBELS, depending on the grade level, we can see that about 9% of students currently qualifying are meeting standard when we look at multiple metrics in both ELA and mathematics. 2% exited last year, and we still have a large population of students who continue to qualify for services, who are needing some continued support. What we're trying to move away from are some of these past practices that are ineffective. They silo students and staff and resources. And as a state, we're also trying to move away from these toward more inclusive services that make sure that supports for students are tied to core instruction, that there's more streamline of the students' services in their day, along with staffing, and that they're not exclusionary, right? They're not pushed off into other spaces or places. So what we're continuing to build on is a more inclusive model that acknowledges the needs of students and the capacity of our systems. So targeting resources for specific program models, more comprehensive intake so we know our student story, so we can get them in the correct program that's going to support their goals. Monitoring and administering services at the student level, which is part of that resources piece too. And staffing schedule, so staff who are able to support with their own assets as the adult, the student's needs. Cross-training more staff to support language and literacy, language and mathematics, and then of course again aligning to core instruction. So our program models that we host here in Shelton School District are supportive mainstream, dual language, the newcomer at Shelton High School, and then sound learning open doors. Supportive mainstream, K-6. The majority of services now take place in the general education class, like Superintendent Jesse mentioned, those folks going into classrooms to support the gen ed teacher as well as the students in that classroom. That use of multiple metrics to make sure we're not using outdated data. We've got relevant, timely information to support the student where they're at. And then again, knowing the student's story, strength, and need when they first arrive. A student coming from Nevada with continued education and no breaks is very different from a student coming from, Honduras, who's had lots of interruptions in their experience. Just knowing their story. Supportive mainstream 712, again, that intake process, a little different with the secondary students. because many students, especially who are new to country, have work experience, and we can leverage that with our career-connected learning. Again, the workshop model utilized across different content areas, math, science, social studies, got some professional learning at Summer Summit around that to give students structured opportunities to use what they're learning, use the academic language, use the content knowledge, and pair it with the language demands. Dual language, again, is one of our program models that can support ELs, but is also open to any family of any language background. So all classrooms, grades 1 through 4, are self-contained, really promoting a bilingual, biliterate space, and working also to make sure that the data is reflective of both languages, so we're able to look at students' strengths in each language. And the book room at Evergreen, we're also working to make sure that there's resources, curricular resources to support both languages of instruction. Sound Learning Open Doors, really our biggest thing there is making sure that students from any of our secondary spaces, that they're permeable, that the students who need to be at Sound Learning for whatever reason or at Shelton High School can go both directions more seamlessly. So each site, regardless of the program model, we look at intensity of need, frequency of services, and then what kind of staffing to provide. So you can see there's FTE for certs as well as paraeducators. And this is always in tandem with our general education staff, because all teachers teach multilingual students. These just sort of specialize and support our multilingual students across our spaces. You'll note that Cedar High School and Choice Middle and High School also have students qualifying for services, so we've reallocated some staffing and have schedules to support those students as well. Just some of the professional learnings for this year, as well as ongoing through the rest of this school year and into next summer. Our Summer Summit supported access to content as well as language development, and that integrated approach, making sure people know how to support language and their content. Then summer book study for workshops, how to support EL students, drop-in opportunities regarding the WIDA standards, which is the framework that the state has adopted for English language development. And then this has been really neat to watch as staff have leaned into wanting to build their own connections with students. We have staff across different departments who are pursuing Spanish language courses so that they can have their own relationships and not depend on another adult or a telephonic system. So our bus drivers, we have classified staff, we have administrators, teachers, facilities staff who are aprendiendo español, right? They're learning Spanish, which is that, I don't know, it's like a goosebump moment for me in a way. And they're getting a lot of empathy for their students now, being language learners themselves. I'm also really excited to note that we have hired TOSAs with extensive EL backgrounds and endorsements. We have hired staff who are ELA and ELL endorsed. We have teachers pursuing endorsements as well as other learning opportunities. Hiring of more staff who speak Mam and Canjobal, which are some of our indigenous languages represented in the program that I showed. Shelton High School graduates, as well as this partnership with the Evergreen State College that has a teacher certification program that uses those WIDA standards, so they're learning through a multilingual lens about instruction, pedagogy, etc. So pretty exciting stuff. So the students I was going to highlight really quickly, they are not here, I apologize. We had a student who arrived as a secondary student. He was enrolled as a freshman from Guatemala, spoke Mam. And his story was interesting. He dropped out, and some of the staff at Shelton High School reached out and said, oh no, you're coming back. And he came back, he finished, he graduated at 19. He has been contracting with us as a Mam interpreter, and then just recently was hired at Evergreen Elementary School. And so we're really excited to have him on staff. The students are ecstatic to have someone who sounds and looks like them as part of the staff. And so he's someone I wanted to acknowledge and give space for. And then another student who arrived here at age 10 from Nicaragua. He went through our schools, graduated Shelton High School, and is now a sheriff's deputy in Thurston County. He warned me he might have overtime tonight, so I apologize. I think he's got overtime tonight. But anyway, just wanted to highlight, some of our students and how they're supporting our community after graduation. For this year, we're going to continue to monitor and make sure that depending on where students are enrolled, we have the supports and scaffolds to meet with the enrollment across each building. Continue to collaborate with the teaching and learning department to make sure that multilingual support is embedded in core instruction. Develop resources to support newly arrived students. Monitor outcomes. Maintain systems of compliance. And we're going to continue to increase language access as well for our multilingual families who might not be in that pie graph of students qualifying for services, but they still might need some of those language supports. Questions?
I don't have questions, just comments. Sounds like a lot of great things are happening. It's a lot to manage. I'm impressed with all of this. It's a good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate that we have this position at the district now. I know we were talking about that when we were agenda setting last week. Just going across these slides, you have so many things that you're taking care of and improving for the district, and I'm just really grateful that we have this position and we can look at students more holistically.
Thank you.
Interesting, Director Gilmore, you and I are on the exact same wavelength here, because I was just in a comment, when I got here, we didn't have a dedicated position. Sometimes we forget about the story of the past here. We didn't have a dedicated position. No one got up every day and thought about our multilingual EL learners. And as you can see by the numbers, 1,100, and you're going to say 1 in 4 students qualify, and no one's there to really think about those quality services. And you can absolutely see about how that has changed how we provide services. A lot of our services were just centered at one particular school in this district. It is now obviously at all 8 schools in depth, and it is changing the future and the generations here in our community. And I think we just have to recognize how impactful that is. They bring a ton of wealth and experiences, knowledge, working really hard. You can hear the stories that Kat Kelly's sharing, and just a recognition to all of our staff for, an unconditional commitment to these students, improving these services, better outcomes, and a special recognition to Kat for just taking something almost nothing to something and really improving on it. So thank you to Kat Kelly as well. So just thank you so much for that, Director Gilmore.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really appreciate hearing the specific student stories. It's really nice to hear that. And I do remember when we did not have your position, and in a number of the different elementary schools especially, I would hear from different teachers who would have students who were in there who weren't necessarily supported, and they were not understanding English. And so I'm really glad to hear that we have different supports in all of the schools, that you are in the position that you're in. I love hearing how there is a bit of a pipeline. We've obviously got a student who's now working for the school district and is able to speak the language and relate so much better. I know my own child is taking Spanish, and she hasn't been in it for very long. And when we traveled, it was something that she was very aware of, that she wished she spoke at least one other language. She wishes she spoke multiple languages, and realizes that so many people speak English, but we don't speak multiple languages many times. So it's really wonderful to hear that, like you said, bus drivers, EAs, different people are inspired themselves to, whether it's popping up Duolingo or something, to just help themselves better communicate as well too. I think that's really nice to hear, because I know my own child has been feeling that way. So thank you for your report today.
Thank you.
It's a very impressive program. Thank you.
Thank you, President Wielander.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Anyone?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. With that, we're down to board member comments. We'll start on the end with Mr. Dale.
Not a lot of comments, except it is so great to keep hearing these good reports and what a strong start. And the attendance improvement is remarkable. So for everybody out there that's working on that, well done. You can't learn if you aren't there. Really appreciating that. That's what I've got.
Ms. Cronquist.
Just like I said earlier, you guys are all doing a great job, very impressive. Changing with everything changing, you're always moving with the changes and making everything better. Thank you for your reports and welcome. We enjoy having you. That's it.
I'd just like to thank the schools for their school improvement presentations. I really enjoy hearing them each year. Being able to do last year's and then this year's, I was excited to see the numbers moving up, and I just really appreciate all the time and collaboration that we can see and the data that you're collecting and showing these small but very important measurements and improvements. And yeah, thank you.
Ms. Davison.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for your reports as well. It's just always really helpful to hear the school improvement plans, to see the pictures of the students. I always really enjoy hearing that and seeing the improvements, and we've had some really big improvements, and it's nice to see that the things that we've invested in are helping our students and just helping give them a greater experience and end up being a better community member when they end up graduating from school. Thank you to our student representatives, and welcome to you as well too. It's nice to have one from each school, and I can speak for myself. I always really appreciate hearing what's going on in your schools, and please don't shy away from letting us know if there are student concerns that pop up, and as well as all of the positive things that are going on. It's wonderful to hear all of those things. That is really about it for me today. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat hoping that our volleyball team is doing well down in Aberdeen, because I'm missing that tonight. The girls volleyball team had an exciting win over Black Hills last Tuesday, and then a disappointing game against Tumwater, but they're actually doing really well this year in their league, and it's been fun to watch. So that's on my mind tonight.
A couple of really exciting school improvement plans, as well as the ELL program. It's super cool, to watch the amount of improvement as we listen to these year after year. But probably the thing that I like the most is listen to the amount that you care about and truly love the outcomes that these kids are getting. We're moving forward, and our kids are in good hands, and thank you. And really, that's all I got. So with that, I take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 7:08, we're out of here.